Well, here we are. I'm floating around in a wormhole, and I decided to show this to you because I found a wormhole of interest right behind me there. It leads to low security space that's only 16 jumps away from the origin system of Eve. So I'm going to take you guys along the trip, part of it anyway, and tell you a little bit about the history of Eve if you don't know it already. So here I am, outside of the named systems that are in the constellation called Eve. Capital E, capital V, capital E. This constellation Eve is in the region called Genesis, aptly named because it's the region where it all began. It all began in the solar system called New Eden, which you see on my destination there. I'm headed in that direction. Now, one reason why I wanted to make this video was because, I was 16 jumps away when I came out of that wormhole from New Eden. I hadn't been there since somewhere around 2010, so I decided to make the pilgrimage, go and check it out, and I figured I would take you guys along with me on the journey. Another reason I decided to record this is because the original story, some parts of it, were left out in the modern day intro to Eve, the backstory, the lore for how it all began. The old story mentions war, and that's human nature, right? All throughout human history we see war, and that was one big thing that came into play when the Eve Gate, the wormhole, opened up. Mankind was at war, Earth was war-torn, and so when we mastered space travel and created these stargates that I'm jumping through right now, we managed to travel all throughout the Milky Way galaxy, our home galaxy. We traveled far and wide, but war still prevailed. War still kept happening amongst mankind all throughout the galaxy. And then one day, the Eve Gate opened, this mysterious wormhole that seemed to come out of nowhere, and it stayed open for somewhere around 100 years. Well, mankind, wanting to explore and exploit resources out of anything we found, because that's human nature, went into this place, and it came out in the solar system called New Eden. And everybody saw this as a joint effort between the empires which we don't really know what kind of state they existed in, at least I don't, at the time. They weren't Omar, Kaldari, Golente, and Minmatar at the time, they were something else. But all of the human empires saw it as an opportunity to join together in this effort to inhabit this new galaxy that they found through the Eve Gate. But of course, after 100 years, as most of you probably know, the Eve Gate collapsed. And we humans, weren't done colonizing this new galaxy. Our colonies weren't completely self-sufficient yet. We hadn't fully established, and so the collapse of the Eve Gate caused millions upon millions of human deaths all throughout the colonies all over the galaxy. But eventually, after thousands of years, mankind rose up, and after this, we don't know what's going on Earth or in the Milky Way galaxy. All of that is lost to our history. There's no way to get back to that galaxy because that giant, massive wormhole that lasted 100 years is no longer here, and we have no idea how to get back. So out of the ashes of these colonies, the four empires rose up. The Amar was the first one to remaster space travel and build jump gates. That's why they are the largest one, the largest empire. They're monotheistic, religious zealots. They ended up coming across the Minmatar, who they thought were savages, and they figured it was God's will for them to enslave these people and use them as they see fit, because they were obviously inferior because they hadn't mastered space travel just yet. And then the Galentians were the first democratic republic to come out of it. And then Caldari, I believe, were our socialists, I believe. Those four empires rose up out of the ashes. They started war again, but they ended up forming a peace to conquer the galaxy again. And that's where the old story left off. Now after that, there's faction wars, so the empires are back at war now. There's also wormholes that have started popping up all across the galaxy. As you can see, the Eve Gate is back there. The star, I'm in New Eden currently. The star just faded into the background, kind of because I warped away from it to the only planet in the system. There's a player-owned customs office there. I always show info on stuff in the game to find out who owns what. I don't know those guys. But yeah, that's the collapsed Eve Gate there. That's the aftermath of what brought us all to this galaxy there in New Eden. It looks almost like a star, but yeah, that's the aftermath of the collapse of the wormhole. And of course, I'm an asshole, so I gotta shoot the player-owned customs office because nobody else is in the system. I wanted to come here to kill somebody where it all began, but wasn't happening today. So anyways, yeah, that's where it left off. Everybody was at peace, and then faction wars happened, and then wormholes started popping up. Here's a nice cinematic view of everything. You'll see some cinematic shots that I got of me flying around in front of the only planet in New Eden. Another person also told me there's a monolith somewhere around this area in a different system. So if this is a spoiler, at least you can still come out here and look for the monolith. It's not in the New Eden system, just so you know. But yeah, now we've got wormholes, we've got the Triglavians. The wormholes are of interest to me because I enjoy living in them. It's a really fun way to play the game. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for joining me on this little starter Eve history lesson. It all started with war, and it's all ending up in war as well. And that's the cycle of life, as it were. So you all have a good one, and I'll see you all later.